Cruz with Heartland Design and Remodeling. I am the general manager here, and today I would like to talk with you all a little bit about planning a kitchen remodel. I know a lot of people are out there looking to do some remodeling on their home, and a lot of questions are, where do we start? Where do we begin? What things do we need to, pay attention to? So today we're going to talk a little bit more about that and try to answer some questions, tell you a little bit more about our process and exactly how we work and what you can expect when working with Heartland Design. Like I said, there's my picture. Again, I am Damon Cruz with Heartland Design Remodeling, General Manager. Today, we want to talk about a few things on our agenda here. First thing is we want to talk about how to plan for the project. Second, we want to talk about a budget breakdown. How's that budget breakdown based on what your budget is for the job and what the actual cost is going to be based on selections and things like that that are big cost drivers when doing a job like this. Third, we want to talk about hiring a contractor, a little bit more about our process, what to look for, questions to ask when you're meeting with different contractors that just kind of help you find the right fit for you and your project and how you want to work with a contractor. Fourth, we want to talk about a full remodel versus a pull and replace, the little difference between the two. And then the last thing we want to talk about is a new program that we've just started. That's called our Refresh program. It's a little bit like a pull and replace, but a little bit less intensive and a little more cost effective when working with a specific budget. Heartland Design and Remodeling has been in business for a little over 38 years. We've been in Northern Virginia for all of that time. We work all throughout the Northern Virginia area, as far as Leesburg and that area, and all the way up into the city in Alexandria, Arlington, Falls Church, that area, and a lot out here in Prince William County as well. We do a number of remodeling types. We do kitchens and bathrooms, basements. We do additions, screen porches, decks, everything that you can think of, we can pretty much do. Today, we're going to talk and focus on the kitchen remodel and some bathroom remodels a little bit because they kind of meld in with each other when it comes to selections and the scope of the work and the process. And then we'll have subsequent seminars along the way that talk a little bit more about basements or additions or screen porches. Just to give you an idea, because they are all very significantly different in their own right. And so it's good to know a little bit about each of those as you're planning for that type of remodel. So we'll first start off with how to plan for the project. First thing that's very important is to define your goals and your needs. What do you expect to achieve? What do you want to achieve with this project? Is it more space? Is it better functioning space? Is it a place where you need to just update because it's been outdated for so long? The first thing I always tell people to do is create a wish list. What are the things that you would like to have? Don't short yourself on the wish list. Make your wish list as big as you want it to be. You can always dial back from that, and so it's always good to put everything in, see what the full scope or the full vision is for the future, and then we can see how we can try to achieve all of that, or maybe parts of that, and phase it along the way. Part of our process is working with a designer during the design phase. And so as you're beginning your project, start gathering inspiration photos, pictures you see in a magazine, something you saw online, maybe something you saw at someone's house. This gives the designer a really good idea of what your tastes are, what you want the ultimate project to look like, and exactly what your likes are as far as finishes and things like that in the home. That way, when it comes time to start looking through selections and picking things, they're going to show you things that are related to things that you like, not showing you brass fixtures if you want chrome fixtures, things like that. So it does help along the way and help them get a better handle on what you're looking to achieve. The last thing is to prioritize rooms and areas. So you may want to do a kitchen remodel, and sometimes a kitchen remodel will include taking a wall out that's dividing the kitchen and the dining room. Sometimes that is the main project, but that always can kind of morph into a larger project where now you're in the front, you're in the foyer, and you got to change the floors, and so now you're in the family room. So prioritize what rooms are the main focus for your job. We can look at all of those things, and it's a good idea to look at all of them at a very high level, and then we can kind of break out and say, if you want to do the kitchen and remove the wall to make the kitchen expand into the dining room space, that will be the base project. Along the way, if we decide we want to look at the front parlor and the foyer and do flooring in there, we can break those areas out and kind of show you what costs are being driven there. The biggest thing, and I think the most important thing when planning for a project, I tell every customer this, and it's not the first question I always ask, but it's one of the main questions I ask. I rarely leave without asking is, what is your budget? Creating a realistic budget is going to be a huge help when meeting with us or with any contractor. Anybody can come in and tell you, yeah, that job's going to be 200,000, that's going to be 300,000. If you really want an honest answer and a close answer, it helps the contractor to know what you're looking to invest on this project. If your budget is $50,000 and you have a $100,000 project based on what we reviewed and what we see, it doesn't mean you can't do anything. It just means we have to get creative in how to dial back on that to get closer to your budget. And that's what we do here really well, is that we try to help you understand what your budget can get you and what things it can't get you. And along the way, can we design for all of it and then do a portion of it? Absolutely. So it is important to have that budget, because without a budget, you'll get disappointed, I guess is the best way to put it, because it helps us understand what we're striving for. And as we're doing the estimating and the pricing and reviewing with the team in the early stages, we don't just come back to you with a number that's way out of your budget. We come back to you with a number that is related to your project, but then we can also have options on how to dial back on that budget to get you closer. So the budget is very important. You don't have to give, all the details of all your financial information, but just what do you have saved? What do you have in equity? What do you want to invest? Those are the things that are important to know as we're planning and helping you plan this project. The existing conditions vary greatly from job to job. So, you may have a simple pull and replace kitchen where we just go in, we're going to take out what's there, and we're going to go right back in the same exact space. We're not going to move any walls. We're not going to change any lighting. We're not going to do any flooring. But in some cases, even a pull and replace like that, the conditions will vary, because maybe you need to have new floor because you've had a water leak 10 years ago and the floors need to be replaced, things like that. So we have to look at all those things, and those are things that can drive budget along the way. Similar projects can also vary dramatically. So just because your friend did a kitchen down the road and you're going to do the exact same thing, it doesn't mean that it's going to cost the exact same thing. Selections that you select for the job, your cabinet colors, your cabinet type, your countertops, your faucets. Are you moving plumbing? Are you not moving plumbing? What kind of appliances are you getting? So while they may have spent 100,000 on theirs, it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to spend 100,000 on yours, even though you're in the exact same model house two doors down. So again, things to think about as you're moving through that. Um, as I've kind of stated and touched on, the level of finish and your product selections, they have the largest impact on your cost for the project. So as you're going through, part of our process, and I'll explain that in a little bit, is to estimate the job based on, mid-range appliances, mid-range selections. So we're not choosing the gold-plated everything. We're not giving you the Home Depot and Lowe's off-the-shelf sort of products. We're giving you something in the middle of the road that's going to last you 15 years or more. And so as you decide your selections, we're going to keep you within those ranges that will keep you within the budget that we've all agreed upon. But you always still have the choice to go down or to go up, and then things will impact your cost along the way. But that's with the designer's discretion to tell you, here's what we have estimated in your budget right now. We're going to show you things that are within that budget. If you want to go outside of that, that is up to you. We're happy to help you and show you those things. But initially, we like to try to show you things that are within your budget, so we're not driving the budget from the start. Two ways to approach your budget. Remodelers actually prefer it when you have a budget. So I talked about this a little bit ago, but design the project. I mean, it costs what it's going to cost. If you want to put on, I know a 10 by 10 addition, the lumber that we get from company A is going to cost the same as the lumber we get from company B. Those things are just costs. They're just set in. So there's not much we can do with that. So the kitchen is the same way. Now, there's a little more room to wiggle with the kitchen, because while the kitchen costs are what they are to do the work and the labor, the materials can change, and that can help fluctuate the budget a little bit. Um, what we do try to do is to design to a specific budget. So if we have a budget in mind, again, this is why it's so important to be able to give this to the contractor if you have a budget, and you can give them a range. Even a range will help. Um, that way, they can make product and design decisions for you along the way that are related to your budget. If you have a $50,000 budget, we're not going to show you a $10,000 stove. We're going to say, hey, well, here, get this stove, let's get this thing. These are all things within your budget. So there's a couple ways to approach it, and this is a good way to really, really hone in on your budget and manage the costs is through product and design decisions that are made along the way. So again, just to not to harp on it, but the budget is very important for us to know so that we can be the best advocate for you. We do this day in and day out, and so we know exactly what we need to show you to match your budget. And again, if there are things that just you just don't like, and you're hell bent on having this one thing, you know what? We'll make it work for you. But these are things that'll help along the way as you're trying to manage your costs. So this is a little breakdown that we show a lot of our customers just to give you a rough idea. If we get back to what we're focusing on today is a kitchen remodel. So the budgeting for a kitchen remodel project, it can be tricky. So a lot of times it can depend on the type of home, the age of the home, the design and the layout of the kitchen, and the size and space and the selections. So, how much does it cost to remodel a kitchen? Well, it all depends. So, these are all rough breakdowns of where you're going to see things coming in. Obviously, your cabinets are going to be one of the largest investments that you have, typically around 25% of the overall kitchen cost. Countertops and glass are a portion of that, but a little bit smaller. They're not making up the most of that cost. And then you've got framing, windows, doors, and trim. So if we're moving windows or we're moving doors or we're creating doors or we're taking out walls, we've got trim and all those sort of things to think about. So those are things that can add to the cost as well. Flooring can be a significant part of the job depending on how the kitchen is broken up in the space. So if you have wood flooring in your dining room and in your foyer and in your living room, and then the kitchen is something different, some people will choose to do the wood flooring throughout the whole space. Well, then what do? Do you just put wood flooring in the kitchen and tie it into the adjacent spaces? Or do you put wood flooring in the kitchen, tie it into the just adjacent spaces, and then refinish the whole first floor? So those are things that can drive a lot of cost. If you're just focusing on the flooring in the kitchen, that is one way of really dialing back on the overall cost if the surrounding areas have flooring that you're satisfied with. Your design, your architecturals, your engineering and overhead is around 7% typically of the overall cost of the job. And then you get into your things like your plumbing and your plumbing fixtures, your drywall and paint, your tile, which would in this case mostly be backsplashes, unless you do tile flooring, which can drive the cost a little bit higher. And then you've got, your dump fees and your cleaning and your permits, which are all required. And then electrical and mechanical and insulation, those things are big. Now, in a kitchen remodel, you're probably not going to have a lot of insulation costs, and those are not typically very high costs to begin with. But if we are expanding the kitchen and doing a bump out, that sort of thing, then yes, we will have exterior walls that need to be insulated. The mechanical costs can be a big thing, especially when doing a kitchen enlargement or an addition. Then you have to think about, is your HVAC system adequate enough to accommodate the additional space that you're adding to the home. So that sometimes can sneak up on you, and so it's good to look at that overall as well. Your electric, that can be a big cost if you have an older home and your panel is outdated or you don't have things run to code. Typically, the way I explain it to people is that as soon as we touch it, whether it's our work or not, we have to fix it. So sometimes there are things where we're moving something in the kitchen, but because that electrical is outdated or not to code, whether or not it was in our scope of work or not, we have to fix it to meet code and to pass inspections. So that's something that we try to look at early on. I'll talk to a little bit more about that and how we try to mitigate some of that in a few minutes here. And then you have your demo your install, and your management, which is the other big chunk of the puzzle. So the demo, again, there's a lot of work there to demo that space, get things ready for trades, get things ready for install of the new materials, and then you have your install. And it's a labor-intensive process. You've got a lot of cabinets to set, you've got countertops, you've got flooring, paint, drywall, all your trades have to come in there. So there's a cost there, and then obviously there's management of the job overall. So this does change from job to job. This is not set in stone, but this is roughly what we see a breakdown for a standard kitchen remodel. So we'll switch gears a little bit and we'll start to talk about the contractor. So hiring a contractor can be stressful, it can be easy, and it can be confusing. A lot of people will say you should always get three bids no matter what. I recommend that as well. If you've worked with someone in the past and you like the way they work and you trust them, then you just saved yourself a lot of time. But eventually, initially, you didn't trust that person. You had to do your due diligence, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I recommend that because everybody's process is a little bit different from the contractor standpoint, and not everybody's contractor process is going to fit with every customer. So you have to pick the process that works for you, that makes sense to you, that you understand, and that accommodates your needs. But when hiring a contractor, there are some important things that you need to be sure that you check with. This is for your protection, it's for your home's protection, it's for liability, and it's for long-term protection. Does your contractor have a business license? Does he have a local license? Does he carry workers' comp and liability insurance? Um, if your contractor has been around for a while or even not a while, but they have references, it is good to check references. We have a list of references, past clients that we've worked with who are happy to talk to our customers to tell them about their experience. It may not always be that you can get someone to talk about a kitchen remodel because they may have done a bathroom remodel. But again, what you're really trying to understand, I think, for the most part, is was the contractor reliable? What was their quality of work? Did you trust them? Did you felt like the communication was good? These are all big things to ask references as you're going into it. Another good thing to ask is credit references. Does your contractor provide a warranty? We provide a 1-year warranty on our work. But I got to tell you, since I've been here, I don't know that we've really ever not gone back for something that was past a year. The goal is to keep your customers happy, and to keep those referrals and those repeat customers coming back. And that's really what this business has stood on for so many years. There's lots of happy clients and lots of happy customers. Other things is, what is the scope of work and the contract look like? Have they given you a comprehensive, professional looking proposal for you to read through and to understand the scope of work? Did they capture your vision? That contract should be essentially the end all be all of this project. Everything that should be in that contract should be what you've discussed with your sales consultant and everything that you think you're getting for that price. So this is why our process is a little bit longer. We take a little bit longer to get the contract because we do want to be sure that we've captured everything and that you get a full comprehensive contract that looks like a contract and not just something that was scribbled in the back of a napkin. Is your contractor turnkey? Essentially, what that means is, is your contractor able to do all the work? Or do you have to go out and do the inspections yourself? Do you have to get the permits yourself? Do you have to hire your own electrician? We are a full service, 100% turnkey Class A general contractor. So all you would have to do is the fun stuff, which is work on the design, pick out your selections, and then sit back and let us do everything for you and deliver a finished product. There are savings by not going with a turnkey contractor, but that just again will depend on how much time you want to invest in managing the project on your own. Most people do not want to or do not have the time to, so this is why these options are available to you. Does your contractor have a showroom and do they have designers? We do have a showroom. We have a showroom here in Manassas for many years now with multiple kitchen vignettes and bathroom vignettes. We also have a small design boutique in McLean, and we have our own in-house designers and architectural designers on staff. They are Heartland employees. And then finally, does your contractor pull permits and will they provide a lien waiver? So yes, we pull all of our permits through the company here. We will not do a job if the customer says we don't need to get permits, or if the customer says we don't want permits, then we won't do that work. The permit process, while it does add time to the job, it is incredibly important that you have all the proper permits and that you do the work to the county codes and have everything inspected. It is for your own liability and for your future liability down the road should you sell the home. And do we provide lien waivers? Yes, we do. Most companies will, but again, something that to look for. So there are probably multiple other things that you can look at and hiring a contractor, but these are some of the basic things that I would always recommend you look for. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that's not on this checklist is, do you connect with that contractor? Did you connect with the sales consultant? Do you feel like you trust them and that they have your best interest at heart? That, more than anything, is going to be what you should look for. It's okay if you don't connect with a salesperson. Salespeople don't connect with everybody. I was a salesperson for many years, and there were some customers I just didn't connect with. Didn't make them bad, didn't make me bad. We just had different personalities and it didn't work. Other customers, we were like family by the time I left the first meeting. So it just depends on how you feel with that interaction. It is very important. You need to feel that they respect your home, that you trust them in the decisions and the advice that they're giving you. And if you do, you most likely will have a good experience, and you'll enjoy the whole process. Because while it is a process and it can be very daunting and overwhelming, it should be enjoyable, and it should be something that you don't feel stressed about. So just a little note there that sometimes there are things that are not on the list that will help you really pick the right contractor for you. So now we'll get to talk about our process. So I've kind of touched on our process here and there and everywhere throughout the last few minutes here, but we'll start up with number one up here, which is the initial consultation. So when you call into Heartland Design, you'll either send us an email through our internet, or through our web, or you'll call in and we'll get you in touch with one of our sales consultants. They will talk to you a little bit about your project, what you're looking to do, and they'll try to set up an initial consultation to come out to your home, talk with you about the project in more detail, take pictures, take some rough measurements, and then work with you on getting an estimated budget for the job. This consultation is free of charge. There's no charge for us to come out and take a look at it. Typically, by the time they leave there, they have enough information from you and from the home and the pictures and the measurements to be able to work up a rough estimated budget for you. Our goal is to return that budget within about a week. Larger jobs sometimes take longer. If we have to do a little research, we have to do a little background search with the county on setbacks, things like that. But typically, we hold it to about a week to get you a budget. That budget will always be a range early on because there are things that we don't know yet. We don't know what kind of countertops you're going to pick. We don't know what kind of cabinets you're going to pick, or faucets, or tile, or flooring. So those are things that are incorporated into our budget at a mid-level range product, but we don't know exactly what they are. That will happen during the design phase. And again, as we talked about, you'll be kind of corralled within that design phase to those costs, unless you decide to go outside of that. But the big thing during that initial consultation is, again, that you connect with the sales consultant and that you feel that they have understood and they get your project vision. Once they get that first call, then they'll get back to you, like I said, within about a week, and they'll present the pricing and the scope of work. This is to give you an idea of, hey, your kitchen project that we discussed is going to be between X and Y. These are your costs there. And it's because of these are things that we're doing. If everybody's in agreement and it sounds like it's within your budget and it's within the scope of work and you're ready to go and you've met with everybody and you connected with your sales consultant, our next step is to enter into a design agreement. That design agreement is just a initial contract that we sign for a minimal deposit, saying that here is the vision for the project. This is the range of cost that we think the project is going to be within. And we're going to agree to that, sign that, collect the deposit, and then that is when we go down to phase three, when the design phase begins. When the design phase begins, you will meet your designer. Kitchen designer will come out to your house, typically with the sales consultant. So it's a nice warm handoff. And then they will start to talk with you about your project. They will already know a little bit about the project. They'll have a little bit of a background update from the sales consultant prior to meeting with you. But now they're going to take their hard, solid designer measurements, as I call them, and then help you pick out what cabinet styles do you like? What color do you want? Do you want painted? Do you want stained? What do you think for countertops? You want granite? Do you want quartz? Do you want dark countertops, light countertops? They'll go into the granular detail of all of these selections with you and hold your hand throughout the process in making all of these selections. We require that all selections are made prior to starting the project. And that is good for 10,000 reasons, but I'll just give you one. No one wants to start a project, have your kitchen demoed, and then us say, well, we really haven't figured out what cabinets we want yet. We'll pick those out next week. Oh, and by the way, that's going to be 8 to 9 weeks to get those cabinets here. Now you're sitting in your home with no cabinets for 8 to 9 weeks and no work is getting done. So this is why we try to have all selections picked out and made before we go to that final bullet on item number 3, which is our trades day. Now, there can be some stragglers here and there, and that's okay because we're still not to the final contract yet. The trades day is something that I think that sets us apart a little bit. Some companies do it, some companies do not. Up until this point, all of your pricing is based on our pricing tool and our understanding of pricing with our trades who we've worked with for multiple years. The trades day is a chance for the salesperson, the designer, and our team of production crew and myself to come to your house with all of the trades, the electrician, the plumber, the painter, the drywall guy, the HVAC guy, the flooring guy, tile guy, and they look at everything. They have a set of plans in front of them because we're almost done with the design and most of the selections have been made. And now that gives them a chance to look at this job and then within a week or two, get back to us with their solid costs for their scope of work on that job. Now we're taking out the estimated budgets that we had in initially, and we're plugging in their set numbers. So what this does is that when we go to final contract, now we've got final numbers and it reduces significantly the risk of us coming back to you halfway through the project and say, oh, you know what? We messed up on the electrical and it's going to be another $5,000. Or we didn't do this on the flooring, it's $2,000 more. Now we've got numbers locked in. And so now there will be change orders. There can be change orders. But typically those change orders occur by changes that the customer makes on their end, or things that were hidden in the walls that were unforeseen, that even through the trades day in cutting holes and inspecting in the layout of the house, we just physically could not have known were there. So the trades day is really important in trying to finalize the final cost for the project and still, again, keeping it within that range of the design agreement. We go on to item number 4. So in number 4, we've done the trades day, designs are done, all the selections are picked, and now the sales consultant is taking the final scope of work, all those selections, all those plans, and all that pricing, and wrapping it up into one final fixed price contract. Now the range of costs has gone away, and we tell you now your kitchen is going to be $100,288.15. And we've dialed in on that through this whole process of design and sales. Once that contract is agreed upon, then we sign it, we collect our at signing payment, and then we go to the construction phase. At that point, the project is turned over to our production team. Now, the production team is going to run it from there. You will have a full-time project manager. Now, when I say full-time, it means that they are dedicated to your job, but they are not there all day, every day. You will have a lead carpenter in some cases that is on your job to do a lot of the cabinet setting, maybe some trim work, some light framing, things like that. But they are also moving from job to job at times when there's downtime. So that means is that they're not going to come to your job Tuesday and then not be there for 2 weeks. But what it means is they may come do their part, and then it's time for the electrician to come in. Well, there's no reason for a lead carpenter to be there while the electrician is running wires all day. So the project manager will keep an eye on the electrician, and the lead carpenter may go to another job and then come back at the end to finish and button up everything. So we have in-house project managers that work for Heartland, and we have lead carpenters that work for Heartland. All of our trades, though, are all subcontractors. Again, they have all worked with us for multiple years. They know our process, we know their process, and we all agree on pricing. So again, as we're bidding these projects and estimating them early on, we're using our subcontractors' pricing. So when it comes time for trades day, there's typically not a lot of variation. We're pretty much in range with what to expect. So that's why we are able to give these prices during the design agreement, knowing that on the back end, we should be still within our range that we've given the customer. During the construction phase, your project manager will be able to keep you up to date weekly, daily, monthly, whatever your request is on your project. They will check in with you about how you're feeling, what your needs are. If you have questions, if there's changes, they will be your number one point of contact during the production portion of the project. Now, that does not mean that your salesperson goes away, and it does not mean that your designer goes away. They are actively involved in every job from start until finish. So if you have questions about design and you don't, and the project manager doesn't know, he's going to refer you to the designer. If you have questions about the contract or sales, or if you wanted to add something, he's going to refer you to the salesperson. So the nice thing here is that we've developed a system where the team stays involved from start to finish, and you don't feel like you're being handed off from one new person to the next. We're there throughout the project to make sure that everything goes as is planned. Because as you know, you have a conversation with a salesperson that can't all possibly be relayed to the designer, and what you talk about with the designer can't all possibly be relayed to the project manager. So everybody has to stay involved and make sure that we're all staying on top of everything. When the job is completed, we will do closeout paperwork, we'll do punch list, and then we are out of your hair for good. Unless you want to have us back at a later time, which we always love to do. We always do a project closeout interview with our customers, what we call our post construction meeting. We bring a gift basket and we like to just sit with you, see the final project. We love to get pictures. We love to get reviews from our clients. So that is very important to us that we are able to come and see these jobs and get pictures. We like to do a lot of pictures befores, during, and after. Sometimes the transition is amazing. We have customers say, I don't remember what it used to look like. And we can say, well, we got pictures here, so we can show you. And it's really cool to be able to hand those off and show them that. So the process, while it's probably typical of a lot of contractors out there, design build firms, ours is a little bit longer because of that trades day process. But I think that there's a lot of value in that. And I think that at the end of the day, that shows with how the project is produced and the end experience that the customer has. So we'll talk about a full kitchen remodel. Full kitchen remodel typically involves extensive changes. So like I talked about earlier, complete demolition of the kitchen, maybe some structural changes in an addition, moving walls, maybe taking a wall out that's load bearing, altering the layout, updating the plumbing and electrical, moving electrical, maybe updating and moving HVAC. It includes all new cabinets, new backsplash, countertops, flooring, paint. A typical full kitchen remodel for us is in that 80 to 120K range. All right. Now, if you're looking at a master bath, similar scope of work, probably in that 70 to 100K range. And for a hall bath, 40 to 50K. This is for the full remodel. When I say full remodel, to differentiate between a pull and replace and a refresh, the full remodel is a lot more extensive. There's a lot more work being done. We're upgrading a lot of the infrastructure. We're moving walls. We're adding a lot of additional flooring, painting additional rooms other than the kitchen or the master bath or the hall, depending on how they're all tied together. So this is what you can look at for a full kitchen remodel. I think if you can find something within that range, and if we can get within that range, you're going to be able to get pretty much everything you want. To keep in mind, this does not include appliances. Appliances can vary. If you like to cook, you may get all, a full commercial package and it could cost you another 100 to 200,000. Or you could just be a basic package and it could cost you another, 20 to 40,000. Just depends on what you're looking for. But as a kitchen remodel on its own, this is what you can look at. Typically, our customers will go to one of our preferred vendors and work with them directly for their appliances, and then we work with them to coordinate the install and installing all the infrastructure for the appliances. It's a better cost-effective way for our customers to get their appliances rather than us to buy them, mark them up, and sell them to them. It's just something that we like to do, and we think it works better that way. So outside of a full remodel, you have a pull and replace. And I think I've mentioned this a couple of times. The pull and replace typically involves removing and replacing existing elements while maintaining the original kitchen layout slash bathroom layout and footprint. So we're not moving walls, we're not moving windows, we're not changing any of the locations for the plumbing or the electrical or the appliances. But it does include all your cabinets and your hardware, countertops, your backsplash, flooring within the kitchen bathroom space, plumbing and electrical, your plumbing fixtures, which in this case would be, a faucet or whatever you have there, and then painting of that kitchen space itself. It does not include going into any other rooms. It doesn't include, taking down soffits, things like that. In the picture here, you can see a before and after. So this kitchen on the left-hand side of the before, you can see that that's the exact same wall as in picture that's shown on the right of the after. So we didn't move the window, we didn't change anything, we didn't take down any bulkheads. We just put in taller cabinets that ran into the ceiling, put a fresh paint job, new countertops, new cabinets, and we changed the floor within that space. The island's still there in the same location, got a little bit bigger because they had the space, but for the most part, everything stayed within that space. So for a pull-in place, you can look at a budget of a little bit less. So 65 to 80K maybe for a kitchen. Again, this all depends on the overall size of the kitchen. The bigger the kitchen, obviously, the more the cost goes up. Master bath is probably more in that 60 to 70K range, and hall bath more in that 35 to 45K range. We do a lot of these pull and replaces, but it's very very rare that someone doesn't want to change something of their kitchen because they don't like the way this functions. They don't like where this is. I want to move this. I want to make this bigger. I want to make this brighter. I want this window bigger. So it's rare to get a pull and replace that it really is exactly everything back in the same place as it was, just with new materials. But small little tweaks here and there are manageable and don't really blow the budget out of the water based on what we have here. So we started a new program because we felt like were not able to capture some of the smaller jobs that people really felt like they don't use this bathroom that much. I don't we're not at this kitchen very often, or this is going to be a rental, or we're getting ready to sell this house. So we create a refresh program. Now, the refresh program is a remodel that typically focuses on cosmetic updates and minor replacements within the existing layout. So it's like a pull and replace, but we have a lot more control of the overall selections and the scope of work. So it does include new cabinets and hardware. It does include countertops. It includes plumbing fixtures. It includes paint. So it does not include new flooring. It doesn't include, high-end countertops. It doesn't include, custom cabinetry. We will give you a list of door styles that you can choose from that are within these budgets. We'll give you a list of countertops that you can choose from that would keep you within these budgets. Again, as I've stated before, it does it does depend on the overall size of the kitchen or the bathroom. So in a refresh program, if you took a 12 by 13 rough size kitchen and just replaced the cabinets and the countertops and put the new sink and faucet in and gave it a fresh coat of paint, you're probably in that 50 to 60K range. Things that can be done later on. You can always put flooring in later. You can always do a tile backsplash later. You can always add some lighting later. So these are things that, this is just to get you a start, a refresh kitchen, a new space, something that's more functional, maybe not broken cabinet doors and drawers and a sink that leaks, just to get you, back on top again, for lack of a better term. Master bath, maybe 50K for an 8 by 10 or a 10 by 10 rough size master bath. Again, we're just going to take fixtures out and put new fixtures in. We're not going to retile the floor. We're not going to retile the shower, things like that. We might just refresh, maybe new shower glass. Maybe it could be something you could add to that. But basically, it's cabinetry, countertops, your plumbing fixtures, and a fresh coat of paint. And in a hall bath, these are where we see the most return here is that hall baths are just small little spaces, typically a 5 by 8 size, but they can get up there in cost because the fixtures and the selections are pretty much all that's in a hall bath. You got a toilet and a sink and a countertop and a mirror and a light and a shower and the tile in the shower and the tub and the shower head. Those are all selections. So those are things that drive cost. So in this case, again, we'll change out the vanity and the hardware, put a new countertop in there. We'll change out the shower head and maybe the tub fixture if you have a tub, and then the faucet in the bathroom and the sink, and then give it a fresh coat of paint. That would probably keep you more in that 30K range for something like that. So the refresh program has been very beneficial, and we've seen a lot of people really take to it because at the end of the day, they may have a secondary or a tertiary bathroom that they don't use that often, or a bathroom that's in the basement that just the kids are using when the friends come over. Yeah, don't don't put a lot of money into it if you've got 25 teenagers running through the basement at any time of the day. Just fix it up nice so that it's presentable. Or if you have company come and stay, they have a nice bathroom that they can use. And same with the kitchen. Sometimes it's just a space to have refreshed, especially if you're not going to be there for another 10 to 15 years. You may be there a couple years. Refresh it. There's not a lot of out of pocket. The return on a kitchen and a bathroom, is typically in this area. You'll get the return on your investment at least 80% within 2 or 3 years. So that's something to think about as you're doing these projects. So the last couple slides here, we'll talk about, just living through a kitchen remodel. Living through a remodel can be stressful. It can be frustrating. It can be inconvenient. It could be anything you want it to be. There are things that we do to try to make it as manageable for our customers as possible. The biggest thing, again, this goes back to kind of the rapport you have with your sales consultant is, do they make you feel comfortable about the process? And do you feel like this process is going to fit for you and your family? Things you're going to have to do throughout a kitchen remodel. Initially, you're going to have to clean out the kitchen. Everything's got to be taken out, moved to another room and stored. Set up a temporary kitchen, maybe in an adjacent room or in the basement, something like that. Use a hot plate, use a microwave. You know, plan meals ahead. That's what we always tell people. If it's during the summertime, maybe even in the wintertime, you can do a lot of grilling outside. Stock ready to eat items, things that are quick that you can pop in the microwave and kind of be done with it in a few minutes. Not a lot of cooking or prep time, or cook ahead of time and freeze things that you again can just put on a little hot plate and heat up, in a pot or put in the microwave. Set up a table for eating, maybe in an adjacent room, or maybe somewhere outside of the kitchen. Create storage for materials. So a lot of times that can be the garage. A lot of times it's the basement. We will need to have a space, and most contractors will, for storing their cabinetry and the materials when they arrive. Typically, the garage is good. It's got to be someplace that's semi-conditioned because you're dealing with wood products that have to acclimate. Keeping it clean. We try to run a HEPA filter on all of our jobs, especially during the demo stage. Try to keep things out of the air, keep the dust to a minimum. We do cover all of our vents and everything so that stuff doesn't get sucked into your HVAC system and damage that. So make sure that that's being done as you're talking with contractors, and that's part of the practice of what they do. We typically have a dumpster on site with, if the site allows for that. If not, we will stage our trash and have, pickups once or twice a week to haul that out of there. And then at the end of the day, we try to, broom sweep and clean up as best we can. All rooms that are adjacent that we're not working in, we put up what are called zip walls. So during the day, we can close off those spaces to the adjacent rooms, but you do have access to it at night if you want to go in and look and see what was done for the day. It's just a zippered plastic wall, but it does keep the dust down and kind of contained to that space. If you've got kids and pets, kids, you just got to make sure that, they understand that this is a workspace. We will never leave anything unsafe as far as electrical or holes in the floor or nails laying around. We do try to keep our sites safe, and that's something that's very important. If you've got kids laying around, kids are curious, and accidents can happen quickly. Pets are big. You'll talk to your sales consultant about it. You'll also talk to your project manager about it. If you've got cats, if you've got dogs, we do request that they are kept in a separate room away from the job site during the day while we're working. I can tell you from experience, nothing's worse than forgetting there's a dog in the house and opening the front door and the dog takes off while you're there working. Those are things that are not fun experiences to have. And we actually don't want anybody to get hurt, kids or pets. Also, what a lot of people will do is they'll take and plan a family vacation time. Now that again is if you're comfortable with putting a lockbox on the door and giving us a key to the house, we will come in and lock up and let ourselves in each and every day. And you can be out of the home for a while and away from some of the inconveniences, because I can tell you when you start a kitchen remodel, depending on the size of the kitchen and the scope of work, you're probably going to expect to be from the time of demo without a kitchen for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So that is a long time. And it can be inconvenient, especially if you have kids in the home and there's a lot going on. So maybe a little vacation time for a couple weeks in there will help soften the blow. So I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you for your interest in Heartland Design and Remodeling. Like I said, we've been in Northern Virginia for almost 40 years now, and we love going into our customers' homes. Our customers are our number one priority. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we've really sustained and maintained our business over the years because of repeat customers and referrals. It's a testament to the owner of the company who has really created this trust in the community and all throughout Northern Virginia, that we have such great reviews and such great response from our customers. If you have questions and you'd like to engage with us, you can go to our website, www.heartlanddesign.com. There is a link on that site to enter your information and for a request for a consult. Someone will get that, come out, meet with you. You can always call in and talk with someone here if you have questions and do a virtual call and just get some input on your project. You can always come into and call and see if someone can meet you in the showroom and we can walk you around and talk you through what you're looking to do before we come out to your home. We're here. We're your advocate. We're happy to help you in any way we can. We look forward to working with you. And thank you for your time. Have a great day.